Are you still there? Can you hear the meeting? All right, now let me get the. Now I need to switch this to. All right, I'm just taking the other computer off of it. I need to adjust the camera view. I'm only seeing Joe. Do you need to get Tom in here? It was something between those two computers. I just pulled one out. All right, so audio. Are you hearing it louder now? I'm adjusting the mic level around 50. I'm not. I don't hear anything out of the speakers, so I don't hear people virtually. Why don't you say something? I'm at 50, and it's set at Prescott. I'm confident in the speakers, but I'm just not hearing it. Right. Yeah, that's true. But I did a test and I wasn't getting anything. Yeah, just say test. Yeah, see, you're not coming out either, but you're muted. Hold on. Now you're not. Now say something. Nothing.
All right, testing. Can you hear me now?
I've got to mute this one too.
I can hear you.
Oh yeah. See, you're still muted. Yeah, try it again.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I don't hear you. Bring up the speakers a little bit. Still don't have anything up here. I'm trying to get Jennifer to talk. All right, we're ready now.
So we're good now?
Yeah, we're good.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the January 27th, 2022 meeting of the KIPDA, Kentucky Regional Planning and Development Agency. I'm David Vogel, the board chairman for this year. Welcome all of you to the meeting here. First thing of order, I'd like to ask Jared to please call the roll.
Honorable John Black.
Here.
Honorable Bernard Bowling. Honorable John Logan Brent. Honorable Sean Crothers.
Here.
Honorable Byron Chapman.
Here.
Honorable Beverly Chester Burton.
Here.
Honorable Jack Kaufman.
Here.
Mr. Matt Munay for the Honorable Bill Dira. Mr. Brian Dixon. The Honorable David Eaton.
Here.
Mr. Kevin Beatty.
Here.
Ms. Lena Muldoon for the Honorable Greg Fisher. Honorable Jeff Gahan. Mr. Keith Griffey.
Here.
Mr. Tubby Purcell for the Honorable Treva Hodges.
Here,
This is Tubby's first meeting. Welcome, Tubby.
thank you.
Honorable Dan Ison. I know Judge Ison had 2 o'clock. He's drawing ping pong balls to see where he falls on the ballot, so he will be here as soon as that is concluded. Mr. Andy Kraus for the Honorable Mike Moore. Honorable Todd Pollock.
Here.
Honorable John Riley.
He's on the phone.
I see him with the Honorable Joe Robinson. Honorable Jerry Summers.
Here.
Honorable Jim Travis.
Here.
And the Honorable David Bogle.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, having a quorum, this meeting is now in session. I didn't hear Bernie Bowling's name mentioned, so he's having a birthday celebration in Florida. I guess he's 75 on the 1st of February. So we wish him the very best. As a long time KIPDA board member. So since Mr. Bowling's not here today, I'll ask if there is a motion that we accept the minutes from our meeting on November 23rd.
I make a motion, Beverly Burton.
Second. Second. All right, any discussion on this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Now I'll ask Mr. Polk for the December financial statement.
Thank you. In your binders, agenda item number 5, so starting on page 21 in your packet is the December financial report. The first page is the summary of elements grouped by division. And as you can see, we're within the end of December, we'd be 50% through the year, and we're well within that level of spending overall within each division. Didn't anticipate any problems to get to the end of the year. And following the board agenda, the summary of program elements is the agency-wide line revenues and expenses. And once again, we're not anticipating that first factor and problems to get to the end of the year. We're looking for ways to make sure we make the best use of our funds and utilize, but there's definitely not any problem with overspending. And then the last part of the financial report is the balance sheet. And then that starts on page 27 of the packet. And that shows the sound financial position. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
There are no questions. Is there a motion to approve the financial report?
Motion.
Seconded. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now it's our pleasure to introduce Mr. David Henley, who is the Regional Economic Competitiveness Officer for the Louisville Healthcare CEO Council and Kentucky Digital Health Tech and Artificial Intelligence Innovation Coalition. And is he on Zoom or here?
He's on Zoom, and everybody.
I am here.
And that presentation is included in your all board packet if you want to follow along.
All right, Mr. Henley, welcome. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. It is indeed a pleasure to be here with you today. I have admired all the work that KIPDA has done from afar, and it is a pleasure to finally be here with you. I was hoping to be there in person today, but due to some logistical challenges, I wasn't able to, but I'm here to provide you with some information about our Build Back Better Regional Challenge. Just a little bit of background on me. I'm an attorney and experienced healthcare executive. I functioned as a general counsel and a chief compliance officer. During my 11 years here in Louisville, I was the chief compliance officer over at Passport Health Plan, and I currently serve on the board of Health Enterprises Network and One West. And I'm also a founding member of a chamber of commerce in West Louisville called the West End Business Association. As you heard, my current role is as the Regional Economic Competitiveness Officer, or RECO, and that engagement is from the Louisville Healthcare CEO Council, whose mission is to solve for national healthcare challenges and thereby transform Louisville's healthcare economy. My role as the RECO is really to work with a coalition of members who are going to help to transform this digital health and artificial intelligence space that we have here in the Louisville region, and to be a liaison to the Economic Development Administration. Let me share my screen here for a presentation of some slides that I'll walk you through. I know you have had some exposure to the Build Back Better plan, but just as a little bit of background again, we're talking about under the American Rescue Plan that the Economic Development Administration has put forward these funds to help communities recover after the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. So they typically give out emergency grants, lending of funds, investments, and that's how we come around to this Build Back Better Regional Challenge. Essentially, what we've done is the EDA has put together a plan in which, through 2 phases, they are giving these funds to communities around the United States to use them to advance a particular different sector that they may have that they think can really help jumpstart their communities. The phase 1 was really the situation where they solicited grant funds, and 529 different organizations submitted in proposals, and they, from those 529, got down to 60 finalists, and the Louisville Healthcare CEO Council led coalition, we were one of those 60, and we've received $500,000 to be able to do more planning on what we need to do in order to get additional funds for this project. The phase 2, which is what we are in now, is really where they're going to get down to 20 or 30 coalition finalists who have the opportunity to get anywhere from $25 to $75 million to take their projects forward for their projects. So again, back in July, we really started putting everything together. In October, we submitted our application. In December, the EDA made their decision to get down to the 60. Now we are in this phase 2. We need to have our application in by the 15th of March, and then they will make this final decision in September of 2022 relative to the additional funds for the 20 to 30 finalists. Now let's talk a little bit about our Louisville region and the coalition that we've put together. Basically here, what we have is a public-private partnership that we think bodes very well for our chances of getting additional funding going down the road. What you see here are all of the entities that are involved in the coalition, and the vision is to become a stronger and more equitable hub for AI and artificial intelligence jobs. This effort that we're putting forward really takes us through all of the counties that you should see here that are very familiar to you. We're making this regional. We want our entire region to benefit from the efforts that we're going to have going forward. And so you can see here all of the different counties that this will take on. So digital health and artificial intelligence. Why are we here? Why are we talking digital health and artificial intelligence? Well, all the way back in 2019, the city and some of these coalition members worked with the Brookings Institute to have a report done on the various industries and sectors and companies in this Louisville region. And one of the groups that they said is really a growing area that we should really be mindful of was digital health and artificial intelligence. And so the question is, what is digital health and artificial intelligence? Well, digital health connects and empowers people and populations to manage health and wellness. It includes digital care programs that leverage digital tools to help transform healthcare delivery. The examples are just mobile health apps that we get, health information technology, wearable devices that we have, telehealth and telemedicine. That's all in this big umbrella of digital health. And then artificial intelligence, it's a wide-ranging branch of computer science concerned with building smart machines capable of performing various tasks. We're all familiar with things like the Alexa smart assistants, self-driving cars, robo-advisors, Netflix's recommendations on what movies we should watch, all falls within this artificial intelligence area. And so what we saw was, and you can see here on this slide, the various careers that fall into the digital health and artificial intelligence area. The data analytics and user experience, the researchers, the software engineers. And we think that if the world globally really is moving toward digital health and artificial intelligence, we want our citizens to be ready for that continued transformation and be trained in a way that they can continue to have jobs as we continue to move forward with digital health and artificial intelligence. You can see here that what we have essentially done, and this mostly occurred during the phase one of this effort that we're putting forward, was to really make a big decision as to where to focus our efforts. And they came up with 4 different projects that they thought were the best ways to bring forward and really advance digital health and artificial intelligence. So you see here on the screen the 4 different projects: innovation tech centers and learning centers, workforce development and wraparound supports, entrepreneurship, innovation and commercialization programs, and health tech applied research center. So essentially, we want to make sure that all of these projects fit together, where we are basically saying we want to have places to train our residents, our citizens. We want to make sure that in doing that training that they are supported and they're able to go out and get that training, that there are things we're doing from a business perspective to help entrepreneurs, to help companies that are doing innovative things, and also to help companies get their products out into the mainstream. And then with our universities and colleges that we have in our region, we want to make sure that we're doing some health tech applied research as well. You can see here by these initials, these are the members of the coalition and how we have decided to form various work groups for each one of these different projects so that each of the areas can participate and give their input and support toward those various projects. You can see there that KIPDA is listed under the workforce development and wraparound supports. And we are so pleased to have you involved so that we can use all of the resources that you have to help us with these various projects. You'll notice that here for the innovation and learning centers, we're really thinking about where do we place these tech centers geographically. We know that in the city of Louisville, we want to focus in on the Nulu area because we've got quite a bit of technology that's already happening there, companies that are in technology that are there. And then we want to do some things over in the west side of Louisville. But we also want to make sure that we're getting out into the county areas and making sure that regionally, they are also benefiting from any type of learning centers that we might have. And so we are intending to really work with KIPDA to make sure that we put some of those types of centers around into our counties as well. From a workforce development standpoint, we want to make sure that we're taking advantage of the work-ready community programs. And I'm working with Jared and his team to make sure that we make the right connections so that we have those partners that can assist us there. And then we want to make sure that we're getting the businesses outside of the Jefferson County area and get into the other counties and make sure that they are benefiting from these projects as well. So essentially, I am here to really, after giving you the background on the Build Back Better project, talking about the various things that coalitions that we put together, the things that we're working on, the projects that we're putting in place, to come to you and say that the role of each coalition member is directly and indirectly find ways to help us create and retain digital health and AI jobs and attract private sector investments. The things that our coalition members can do is participate in the work groups, and we have that going on, to identify partners for component projects, to attract private investment, to conduct outreach across historically excluded populations, and to obtain letters of support. So my question for you, one, do you have any questions for me? And two, where do you see that you could provide the most support for our effort going forward?
All right, thank you, Mr. Henley. Let's open it up to board members here. I'll ask the first question myself and try to get the ball rolling. Is this a project, at least the idea, the concept behind this project, unique to the global metropolitan area here, or are other areas trying to do digital health and artificial intelligence as well?
Yeah, great question. Of those 60 finalists that the EDA came up with, we are the only one in the digital health AI space. There are 4 others that are in healthcare, but they are not specifically in digital health and artificial intelligence. We have built quite a group of companies within our area, such as Waystar, Bamboo Health, Verisys, Glennis Solutions, Century Health. They're all in this digital health AI space. And we want to take advantage of that, particularly again, from the standpoint that if jobs are moving toward more technology, we want our citizens to be trained and able to continue to have those jobs. So we want to move that forward. So again, I think we are in a unique position because we are the only ones in digital health and AI, and we think that bodes well for our ability to get additional funds.
Other questions here, board member? Could you repeat the time frame again? How long before the initial awards are made?
Yes, we need to have our application in by March 15th, which is right around the corner. We are hoping that KIPDA again can assist us with getting letters of support and identifying various partners within the outstate areas to partner with on our project. The decision that the EDA will make on the additional funds will happen in September of 2022.
So how can each of the member groups of KIPDA letters of support, can someone suggest how those would be worded, or give us some indication of what you'd like to have?
Yes, we will work with Jared to make sure that we get a format for you so that you can provide those letters of support. I think KIPDA provided one previously, but we'd like to have even more from each of the member organizations.
Absolutely, KIPDA can be help get those letters of support distributed, and also.
Right, I think everybody would like to be a participant, but may not know exactly how to word a letter or what key points should be stressed, something like that, or how we can actually provide support to move this forward.
David and I thought this would be a good opportunity to explain the application, and then also just kind of introduce you to it before we come out asking for the letters of support rather than coming to you blind. So hopefully after hearing this presentation, you all understand our request for the letter of support.
The other thing certainly that we would welcome is if you know of various organizations, various businesses in your particular areas that would benefit from this digital health AI effort, to really let Jared know so that we can make sure that we talk with them and identify their needs relative to this effort.
And just to add, David, because we do have Indiana members, the way the application is submitted is based on the economic development district. So with KIPDA being the economic development district, our district ends at the river, so we don't cross over to Indiana. But I do see, obviously, if this were to take off, it would definitely be impacting our Indiana students.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyone else? All right, Mr. Henley, thank you for being with us today, making a very clear explanation about the program of work. You can count on us for our support.
Great. Thank you very much for the time.
You're welcome. Thank you. The next item on today's agenda, number 6, has to do, or number 7 has to do with a audit presentation, and I'll turn it over to Tom.
Thank you very much. This morning, Rachel sent out to all the board members a digital copy of our audit report and the auditor communication. Today we have with us from our audit firm of MCM, we have Leanne Waters and John Hill, and they're going to talk to us about the report.
Well, thank you all for having us today. We're not going to take up too much of your time. We're just going to give you a very high level review of the audit. First of all, I do want to thank Tom and all of his team for their help in facilitating this audit. It was you all have a very involved audit. There's a lot of moving parts. Because you all expend over $750,000 in federal awards, you are subject to a single audit. This year, you all expended $7.9, almost $8 million in federal awards, and you are a low-risk auditee. We select your major programs using a risk-based approach, and this year we audited the Coronavirus Relief Fund as well as your aging cluster. You had about $4 million, $3.8 million, almost 3.9 in that aging cluster. In addition to your traditional funding that you received under the aging cluster, you also received $1.4 million in CARES Act money. So that's one of the reasons that we elected to audit those two programs as major, because both the Coronavirus Relief Fund and then the aging cluster had significant dollars that were funded by the CARES Act. And I'm very pleased to tell you all that we did not have any issues of internal control weaknesses, nor did we have any instances of non-compliance with any of the major requirements or materiality requirements of those programs. So that's a big accomplishment there for your team. I'm going to turn this over to John Hill, who is the engagement partner, and he is going to go over some of the required communications that we need to make to you all as those charged with governance, and then we will give you an opportunity to ask us any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you very much, Leanne. As she did mention, we did have excellent cooperation from Tom and his team. We have issued an unmodified opinion on your financial statements. That is the clean opinion, the type of opinion you would expect on a year-to-year basis. If you look at it, it does take about 3 pages to outline everything that we talk about, but there is no unusual wording that you haven't seen in prior years. I would also mention that the Auditor of Public Accounts has reviewed the report as well as our work papers and had no findings or any comments related to the audit, so that was good. There were no changes in the scope of our audit in the current year. As it relates to audit adjustments, there was really only one unwaived or unposted audit difference in the current year. It's only $16,000, which is clearly immaterial to your organization, and it would have adjusted the deferred outflows related to the OPEB. There were no new accounting pronouncements adopted in the current year, so your amounts presented are comparable fashion as to they were in prior years. Consistent with every year, we do look at your accounting estimates that are inherent within the financial statements. These primarily relate to accounts receivable and the related reserves, the pension and the OPEB liabilities, as well as your depreciation expense. We have tested those estimates and are comfortable with the amounts as they are recorded and reflected within your financial statements. The other thing that I would point out to you that there is one upcoming pronouncement that will go into effect next year, and that's related to leases, which we have talked about in the past. And as we've mentioned before, that will really result in operating leases that go beyond 1 year being reflected as assets and liabilities on your financial statements. As Leanne mentioned, related to the uniform guidance testing, similarly with the audit, we did not have any material weaknesses nor any significant deficiencies that needed to be communicated to this committee. And in addition, we're not aware of any fraud as a result of our audit procedures. In the very back of the report, Leanne has done a nice job of summarizing all that. You will see several opinions that are government related. Those are the standard wording and unmodified opinions as you would expect. So that's really the overall required communications. Leanne and I will be happy to take any questions that the committee might have.
Do any of the board members have any questions for the auditors in regard to this report? All right, seeing no questions, I guess that finishes our report. Judge Pollock, did you have a question?
Yes, I'll make a motion. We accept the audit report.
Second. All right, moved and seconded, Mayor Chapman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you, auditors. We appreciate that. I think as part of this audit, I think we need to recognize that a good audit is also a reflection of the excellent work being done by Tom Polk and Jerry Haley. So we thank our staff for the good job you have done.
I got one. My staff too.
Okay, your staff that comes through. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 8 on today's agenda is the Transportation Policy Committee. Andy Rush is going to have a report.
Thank you. The Transportation Policy Committee met in this room just in the last hour or two at 12:30 p.m. Some of the highlights from our meeting today included Mr. Spencer Williams of our staff presenting the new Environmental Justice Resource Guide. The Environmental Justice Resource Guide guides us and guides local communities in the region, if you so choose, to it identifies areas of low income and minority areas. We made some changes from the prior areas. Not to get too much in the weeds, we used census tract instead of census block groups. Made a few changes, but certainly populations have changed over the last several years since our last update there. Elizabeth Fark, KIPDA staff, she presented on an update to our performance measures. Transportation performance management is a huge thing. It's been a huge thing since not just the recent transportation bill, but the one prior to that. And it's included in the new bill too, for sure. So we've got some new requirements at this MPO for transportation performance measures. We've been a leader in this state and these 2 states on that front. So we've got some more good things up our sleeves there for certain. Nick Vale of KIPDA staff presented on the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, otherwise known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the IIJA, the BIL, the DIB somewhere. It's the new highway bill, the new transportation bill, the infrastructure bill. It was first of what I would expect to be several presentations to the Transportation Policy Committee on that front. So on some level, we're waiting further guidance from our federal highway partners, federal transit partners. Next month's meeting, we will have a deputy division administrator from the Kentucky division of FHWA presenting to the committee. She, as far as we know, she's going to present us with a lot of answers to some of the questions that we still have, not just the KIPDA, but the 2 state DOTs perhaps and local governments have. We announced our Transportation Technical Coordinating Committee officers for 2022. Mr. Keith Griffey is going to continue to be our chair. So thank you, Keith, for stepping up once again. And our vice chair is going to be Matt Meunier from J-Town. So thank you, Matt, for that as well. Thank you, Matt. Similarly, we had to announce and elect a new set of officers for the TPC, and so we did so. So Judge Executive David Vogel, Fulton County, is going to be not only your board chairman, but also the TPC chairman for 2022. So thank you very much for that. And then also, Ms. Carrie Butler was nominated and elected to be our TPC vice chair. Carrie Butler is the executive director of Arfa. Okay. We've heard administrative modifications, we had some other business, including, and I want to say right now, we recognize Mr. Kevin Beatty for his service. So many of you all know, he's, of course, he was board chairman last year, but he was also the TPC chair. He pulled up a double duty last year. So we want to thank Kevin once again for his service. And thank you.
All right, thank you. Action requested on this. Is there a motion? So, second. Second. All right. Any discussion or questions for Andy here? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. Thank you. The Regional Transportation Council report from Randall Embry.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, board. The Regional Transportation Council met at 1 o'clock in a small conference room. We approved the minutes from November 23rd annual meeting, went over a public comment period. Also talked about the county transportation up in Henry, Shelby, Spencer, and Trumbull counties, as well as Bullitt, and then also gave a report to the council members on the Kentucky for Better Transportation Conference that I attended last week. Governor Butcher was there. We also talked, like Andy said, about the new transportation infrastructure bill. Kentucky's going to receive $4.7 billion over 5 years. Indiana's going to be a little bit more. And talked about the mega projects. And then also we had Keith Lovin, the KYTC bike pedestrian coordinator, talked about bike pedestrian. And the different KYTC grants that they have for bike pedestrian. Passed out the recommended highway plan is now out for Kentucky, and also reviewed the council membership list. And our next meeting will be March 24th at 1 o'clock on Zoom and in the small conference. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Randall. Action requested, motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion second.
Second.
All right, second. Any questions for Randall? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Okay. Everybody on the Zoom, raise your hand. Right. Let's see who's doing it. I failed to mention that the minutes ought to reflect that the judge approved the right to 215.
We've had these transportation reports. I was wondering if you could put on the list of to-dos to get the 64 East sign off the Gene Snyder put back up, because it's laying on the ground and I missed it. And I went to the Taylorsville Road exit and I've seen all the industrial park. It took 15 minutes for me to figure out how to meander here. So that's what happens when the country boy comes to the city. If it's you know, it's past the St. Matthew's Mall, I just don't know what.
You're Lost Fallen Highway. Somebody may hear that and take care of it.
But that is a true story. The sign's laying on the ground. Yeah, 64 East exit.
I think Matt Bullock was on earlier today, but all right, Regional Planning Council, Justin Carter.
To vouch for Judge Brent, it is a maze, even the city wouldn't get lost in that maze over there. Well, for the Regional Planning Council meeting, they met on January 11th via Zoom. The council received an update from the KIPDA Community Economic Development Division activities, since they did not meet in October. Last time the Regional Planning Council met was in July. So it was basically just to bring everyone up to speed on what we have been doing, especially the regional hazard mitigation plan and the meeting that will be held on April 12th at 11 a.m. via Zoom for that meeting. Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. All right, motion to approve. Motion. All right, moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we're at, Justin will handle the Regional Water Management Council report.
Thank you, Chairman. The KIPDA Regional Water Management Council met on Tuesday, January 11th from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. It was a hybrid meeting. We met here in Burke Room and via Zoom. Ariana Lodgerman with the Kentucky Rural Water Association was our guest speaker and gave a presentation on PFAS chemicals what they are used for, what they are found in, and new EPA policies and regulations regarding how they will be monitored, and working to mitigate their existence in our public water drinking systems. The Division of Water will also be beginning to test for them in wastewater discharge and in solids. Mrs. Lodgman also provided the council with an update on the EPA's new lead and copper rule revisions and how water and wastewater systems in our region will soon be required to provide line inventory on them and on all the lead and galvanized lines in their systems. And this is going to be started by the beginning of 2024. So this is something that we'll be working with the Division of Water in the next couple of years to get asset inventory on. The council also approved 14 new drinking water projects and 3 new wastewater projects in our KIPDA region. These 17 approved projects are included in your all's board packet for your review if you choose to do so.
Starting on page 35.
Yes, sir. I would also like to provide an update to the board on the projects that were submitted to the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority by KIPDA for fiscal year 2023 state revolving fund loan funding consideration. We submitted 21 drinking water projects and 11 wastewater projects for a total of 32 projects in our KIPDA region for possible fiscal year 23 state revolving fund loan funding consideration for the KIA. I worked with all the systems who submitted applications to make sure that all applicable project components that would help them score higher were taken into consideration and fully fledged out before applying for SRF funding. The intended use plan that will notify us about which projects will be invited for funding is slated to be released sometime this June before the end of the fiscal year. And this will be released through the Division of Water and through the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority. Lastly, Zach Herzog and myself are already about halfway through with conducting all of our system visits for this 2022 annual system visit year. We will be conducting those through the next month. We already have all those scheduled out, and in the process of doing this, we collect all the 2021 system data and asset inventory data for all of our KIPDA regional water and wastewater systems. This concludes our report. Action is requested to approve the new water and wastewater projects were approved in our January 11th Regional Water Management Council meeting.
All right, those projects are listed on page 35. They cover bullets in the Jefferson County for the most part. I believe that those are the only counties involved in this. One from Sheldon. Pardon me. All right, motion to approve.
I make a motion.
Is there a second? Second. Okay. Have we lost our internet connection?
No, I'm switching over for Hayden.
Get it ready for Hayden's
Oh,
presentation.
all right. All right, I'm going to assume everybody on the internet votes yes on this because you can't see. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, speak up. Okay, no opposition, motion carries.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Next is Hayden Kendall to talk about the Hazard Mitigation Council report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. As you know, over the last year, KIPDA has been working with your communities to complete the 5-year update of the Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. This year is the first year that it is an online resource, and it is actually the first online HMP in the state, so we're really proud of that. And before I continue, I'll just briefly go through the website. Clicker for the website. Can I can go to the website. I think that I'll just use my. Okay, so this is obviously the home page. Then we have the about page, and here you can find funding definitions, the legislation regarding HMP, acronyms, and key terms. So this is a good resource to come back to as you go through the plan if you need any refreshers on hazard mitigation terminology. Then we have the community profiles. So here you can
I'm not
find
seeing anything.
oh. Shit. Sorry, I forgot to make sure that. Okay, so the about page was where you're going to find the funding definitions and key terms. Now we're on the community profile page. So here's where you can see the HMP counties and cities, city breakdowns, and a couple of story maps with different data points on our region, demographic data, housing data, economic data, etc. Then we have the planning tab, and here you can see who was involved, what the process of updating was, plan maintenance, which will outline how the plan is reviewed and the data is updated annually. And then of course, there's a complete update every 5 years. And this is obviously the 5-year update, and this plan will be active until 2027. And then here is the documentation page. So all those meetings that you had with KIPDA, the sign-in sheets, agendas, meeting minutes, you can find those there. Then we have the hazards, which are part of the risk assessment portion of the plan. And obviously these are all hazards that could potentially affect all of the counties in our region. This is why we have a regional plan. Hazards don't typically respect county boundaries. So I'll just go to the flooding page just to give you, so all of the hazard pages are pretty much set up the same way. And just to point out here, this table of contents is, you can click on these links instead of scrolling through the whole page if you want to navigate quickly to a section. And there's extent, location, impact, past events, probability, vulnerability, etc. So I'll show you a cool feature, and one of the benefits of it being an online plan is the ability to interact with the data. So for example, we have put together these data dashboards, and you can filter by the county, and the data will obviously change depending on what county you pick. And my colleague Anne Marie, we can thank her for getting this data together for us. And obviously, if you have any questions, you can reach out to myself or her. And below each dashboard, there is a view data button, and you can actually view the data tables. Then the last portion of the plan, we have the mitigation strategy, which consists of the capabilities assessment, which basically identifies hazard mitigation opportunities hazard mitigation opportunities available to the jurisdictions through their daily operations as units of local government, and outlines existing authorities, policies, governmental structures, and staff departments. Then we have the goals. And these were developed and approved by the Regional Hazard Mitigation Committee. And then we have each county's action table. So for example, this is Oldham's. And okay, you can stop sharing. So that's all I'll go over with, I don't know. That's all I'll go over on the website. Obviously, feel free to browse after the meeting. And we submitted the plan to FEMA and the state on December 17th. Then we held a Regional Hazard Mitigation Planning Committee meeting, and the plan was unanimously approved on January 19th. And we actually just received official FEMA approval yesterday. So with that being said, moving forward, we are working on passing resolutions in every county and city. I contacted the emergency managers, so they're aware that we were trying to get those in at the next fiscal quarter city council meetings. And with that, that concludes my presentation, and action is requested from the board to authorize the resolution.
All right, we have a resolution here. It's in your back part of your packet there. And is there a motion I'd be allowed to sign this resolution?
Motion.
Second. All right, any discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Motion.
I would just like to take a minute to recognize the efforts that went into this. The mitigation plan takes about 6 months with FEMA review. This took a month, which was very critical because I know there were grants from both Oldham County and Spencer County that were time dependent on getting us FEMA approval. So really want to thank staff for all their efforts. And I know that there's a lot of thought when you go into this, that these planning efforts are not worthwhile. But speaking to my colleague in Mayfield, when FEMA showed up after the tornado in December, one of the first things they did was ask for a copy of the hazard mitigation plan. So these planning efforts are very important. So I thank you all for your participation. Thank you for staff for completing.
Yes, I can attest to that. We've dealt with FEMA in our past in Oldham County. It's not an easy group to deal with. And, you got better have all your paperwork and in line. And I think one thing we did several years ago, we actually had 3 final audits. Somebody showed up for a final audit, and later somebody else came in and said, "Well, I'm the final audit." A third person came and said they were the final audit. So
They didn't prove you, Judge. John Black must have been in charge of that.
Yeah, right. He was there. But, okay, next item. Here we go. ARPA ratification of the contracts and the ARPA rule updates. Jennifer Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon. So first, since the last board meeting, KIPDA has entered into 3 ARPA administration contracts with the city of Greenmore, Devondale in the amount of $7,634.11. The city of Lincolnshire in the amount of $388.44.
Hey, Judge, we cannot hear that lady. Why don't you have her come back over and stand where Hayden was? We can hear where Hayden was very well, but we can't hear there.
So she's got a mask.
Okay, yeah, maybe over here, yeah.
That mask on.
I know, let's say some people in there have masks on, some don't, or, everybody's comfort level's fine. But if you have a mask on, please try to project.
So first, since the last board meeting, KIPDA has entered into 3 ARPA administration contracts with the city of Greenmore, Devondale in the amount of $7,634.11, the city of Lincolnshire in the amount of $388.44, and the city of Shepherdsville in the amount of $32,219.68. We would like to request that the board take action to ratify these 3 contracts.
All right, the motion that those actions be ratified.
Motion Beverly Burton.
I have a question.
Second question.
I got a question. These contract amounts here, these payments, aren't these payments come from the ARPA funds? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. They come from any other funds.
It's all the administration, which is allowable expense through the ARPA funds, and it is 1% of the ARPA allocation. So that's the reason for the different amounts.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor of Ms. Wilson's report, please say aye.
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 Motion carried. Thank you.
Second, we have just learned that DLG mistakenly overpaid the first tranche of ARPA funds to some cities and required them to return part of the funds they received after they had signed a contract with KIPDA. Therefore, we request that the board approve the amendment of any ARPA contract with any city in that situation to correct the fee to one based on the correct amount they were supposed to receive. So we would like to request that the board take action on that item.
Okay, we will repeat that again. I didn't know.
Just again, the way these contracts were built, they were 1% of the ARPA amount. DLG had made a mistake on how much the allocation was for some of the cities. So that obviously impacted what the administrative fee is. So we're just asking the board to ratify the revision of contracts in order to fall in line with the correct motion.
Okay. Have a motion to a second.
Make a motion, Beverly.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on from ARPA, can we get an update? You may even know the answer to this, but did they pass the federal legislation opening up?
That was her final part of it, I believe.
Oh, did I meet you? I'm so sorry.
No, thank you for that introduction. I'd like to present a brief overview of key changes to ARPA regulations. And I have just a few slides. Are they showing to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So Treasury released the final rule for ARPA state and local coronavirus fiscal recovery funds earlier this month. There are several significant changes from the interim final rule. The final rule is effective April 1, 2022, but recipients can take advantage of the new provisions now. Thank you. The most significant change is that now, instead of performing a revenue loss calculation, recipients can elect a standard allowance of up to $10 million for revenue loss. The entire amount may be used for government services. These include any service traditionally provided by a government, unless Treasury has stated otherwise. The prohibited uses include pension fund deposits, debt service, financial reserves, and payment of settlements. We have been cautioned by several sources that this is not the Wild West. There are still reporting requirements and procurement requirements. And KLC, just to note one thing, has advised that large capital projects for general economic development are disallowed.
Other than water, sewer, and broadband, correct?
Those are permitted.
Do what, so?
Determining it needs to have a wet side, meaning water, sewer, stormwater.
Okay.
Not that.
That wet side went right over my head. I know it.
And the way, and I don't want to interfere, the way you explained to us is if you have a road project that has a stormwater, a wastewater, or water, you can do all of it using the funds. You just don't have to segregate it to the portion that's wet.
So it's gotta have a wet component.
Wet, thank you.
But I guess, if government service, so parks are government services, that would probably be the loosest thing that one could do with the money.
My park's on the river. Say my park's on the river.
Probably underwater.
Yeah.
The aqua park.
Okay.
So in addition to government services, the final rule clarifies certain aspects of premium pay. Now, no justification for higher pay is required for workers who are not exempt from FLSA overtime provisions. Also, it may not be paid to volunteers. And there are additional eligible water and sewer projects, including lead remediation, culvert repair, residential well projects, and certain dam and reservoir projects. And finally, in the category of response to the pandemic, there are new provisions for capital expenditures. Written justification is required for projects over $1 million. And there are new provisions for public sector capacity, including worker retention incentives, if certain conditions are met. We've received conflicting advice from various sources as to whether capital projects or salary increases that are categorized as government services from revenue loss must also comply with these justifications and conditions. So we don't know yet. A number of items in the final rule are still vague or unclear, and Treasury continues to issue additional guidance, and we are continuing to run down these issues. That concludes my update. Any questions?
I attended a legislative update in Indiana last 2 days, and what you said here almost mirrors that exactly. You still better be pretty cautious on how you distribute your ARPA money. There's still some pretty gray areas that, are still undefined. Some people use the term, oh, you spend it on anything. Well, you better scale that term back a little bit. It's, expenditures might be a better way to put it, but you better be very careful. So,
Right. You want to spend a big bunch of money, it might get big.
Yeah.
Okay, is your motion to accept this report?
Second.
All right, moving second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I hear no. Oh, that was an aye. Okay, thank you. All right, motion carries. Thank you. The Division of Social Services, Lynn Evans. You here today?
Lynn is out today, but we have James McGowan filling in for Lynn.
Thank you very much. The division had social services. We have 3 items that we are requesting board approval on. And if we want to wait till the end of my presentation, do that approval.
Okay.
Certainly fine. That would be fine. Great. First, we are requesting board approval for the executive director signing the modified Title III and Title VII Dale contracts that include FY22 carryover funds from FY21. In addition, we are requesting board approval of mid-year revisions to the following provider contracts. These revisions are based on mid-year review of activity and performance. You should be able to see the details for Louisville Hills and Tri-County in your agenda. Last but not least, the Department of Social Services is requesting approval to modify Title 3C subcontracts with Arfa funds to our existing Title 3C subcontractors as needed to continue activities as directed by Dale. In addition, all of the other Arpa funds must be pre-approved by Dale. Those activities have to meet longevity, equity, accessibility, and diversity criteria. We are requesting authorization to modify Title 3 and other 3C and Title 7 subcontracts throughout the balance of FY22 as Dale approves such activities.
All right, we've got 3 steps to approve. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Are there any questions on those steps? I guess we'll take them all at once. The motion.
Motion.
Okay. Motion in a second. Questions from Zoom members or anything? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right.
Thank you very much.
Now we're on to legislative report. We'll start with Kentucky and Jared has that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Redistricting was the focus of the first week of session. House Bill 179, the state Supreme Court redistricting map became law with the governor's signature. Senate Bill 2, the Senate redistricting map became law without the governor's signature. House Bill 2, the House redistricting map, and Senate Bill 3, the congressional redistricting map, both became law following the House and Senate overriding the governor's vetoes. Not long after the vetoes were overridden, the Kentucky Democratic Party filed a lawsuit over the redistricting plan challenging the new maps. The lawsuit was filed in Franklin Circuit Court last Thursday afternoon. No hearing date has been announced. The Kentucky House of Representatives passed House Bill 1, the biennial executive branch budget, House Bill 241, the transportation budget last Thursday. The bills appropriate more than $110 billion and now go before the Senate for consideration. Some of the highlights between the bills: House Bill 1 includes a $4 increase in per diem payments made to county jails that house state inmates. Federal funds appropriation of $350 million in fiscal year 2022 and 2023 for the state fiscal recovery fund of the American Recovery Plan Act of 2021 for a drinking water and wastewater grant program, which shall be allocated to each county based on population. $25 million in each fiscal year for the special grants to help county governments with road maintenance. $200 million in general fund appropriation for fiscal year 21-22 for state matching funds for the Federal Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. $10 million towards a population-based grant pool under the Department for Local Government that would allow each representative and state senator to award grants to local governments, educational units, and quasi-governmental agencies. For KIPDA's perspective, it continues level funding with the appropriation formula for the Area Development District's Joint Funding Administration Program that helps fund KIPDA's Community and Economic Development Division. And as you've heard often in here is the senior meals that were delivered through the pandemic. The House Bill 1 included the governor's request for the expansion of senior meals. The general fund appropriation is $7,240,000 in fiscal year 22 and $14,480,000 in each fiscal year 23 and 24 for the biennium. Some of the highlights in House Bill 241, the transportation budget. It includes $2.16 billion in federal funds, including a commitment of $200 million in any matching fund requirements for additional federal grants. Road fund appropriation totaling $3.42 billion. The A&R chair pointed out that the sweep of road fund monies to the general fund has been completely eliminated in this proposal. A $180 million general fund transfer to the transportation cabinet to increase funding for highway and road repairs. $50 million each year to provide maintenance and construction grants to Kentucky cities and counties. and $22.8 million to provide grants to the state's 57 local and regional airports. Another bill we are closely watching due to our activities is House Bill 212. On Monday, it passed the House with a 92-0 vote and has been received in the Senate. The bill delays fiscal courts initiating reapportionment proceedings until 2023. Those were to occur this year, so we are hopeful for that year delay. And finally, today is the 17th day of the 60-day session that concludes on April 14th. We will continue to monitor the session and provide another update next month. This concludes my report.
Will you tell us a little bit about what that means specifically in the transportation funding? The House passed this budget bill out that had, I guess it was more of a framework. They didn't include a 6-year road plan in that bill.
No, sir.
So that still will come through the traditional route of the governor's office first, and then it'll go through the grinder in the House and Senate.
Correct.
This just said.
Yes, sir.
Probably means there'll be no roads paved in Henry County, but I'm not for sure.
I saw John Park on there earlier. I thought he was taking care of your business today. I may get something now that you got Paul Hornback redistricted.
Hey, I've got the perfect district, Judge.
Now that I'm out of office, I might get you redistricted to Henry County.
All right, well, any other questions or comments for Jared here? Does anybody know, I mean, I understand that the attempt to keep the county offices involved, you know, in the January 25th deadline for filing and May 17th primary, would that some kind of lawsuit have to be settled before the end of April or before the end of the session for Jerry Miller's bill not to be filed?
That is just kind of the threat, depending on how long this bill, that lawsuit goes along. So it still hasn't been heard in committee, but it's not supposed to affect the counties, with the exception of the primary would still be held in August rather than making the clerks hold 2 different primaries.
But we wouldn't open up again for filing.
Exactly. Keiko is adamant for that not to impact the county.
Any other clarifications? So, hearing none, we'll accept your report. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Didn't see any hands on the Zoom screen, but all right, thank you, John. All right, now we'll have Kevin Beatty as our Indiana report.
Well, this year is the short session in Indiana, being 3 months, January 4th through March 14th. A number of bills have been filed. This coming Monday is the deadline for bills to pass out of the first chamber to head to the second chamber. Bills include changes in eminent domain, workforce availability, retention and recruitment, economic incentives, public notices. This is one that's kind of interesting because a lot of units of government are requesting permission to do electronic notices instead of print notices, because a lot of the rural communities don't have a newspaper in circulation in their county. And some people don't even take the paper anymore, but they're more in tune on social media and other outlets. So there's a provision being considered to allow electronic notification for public notices. Government agency oversight. This is an interesting one because once a government agency is given the authority to do something, they're also given the authority to set their own fees. And some of the legislators are a little upset that they can do that. So there's a bill moving through that would require those agencies then to either be limited on their fees, or that all fees that they choose to impose would have to come back to the legislature for approval. Also taxes on personal professional services. So if you go get your hair cut, which some of us don't have to do very much anymore, you would have to pay your barber or your salon person a tax for the service. Also, your accountant or your attorney could charge you a professional, would be required to charge you a professional 6 to 7% tax depending on what that rate was. So that's one that's being watched closely. One that we're paying special attention to is House Bill 1002. It has a lot of tax matters and implications. The one is what's being recalled replace, not eliminate.
Yeah.
And basically the state with surplus is looking, some of the legislators are thinking that there is an opportunity to reduce the rate on business personal property tax. That is a good thing if you're looking from an incentive point to try to lure business, but the problem is they haven't identified a 100% replacement revenue to cover that reduction to units of government. The main concern for municipalities with TIF districts and with counties with TIF districts is that loss of revenue would hit your tax increment financing revenue. As we all know, we pledge that TIF revenue to cover certain bonds for economic development purposes. So in essence, if they pass this reduction in tax and we receive less revenue to cover bond indebtedness, we would then have to turn to all the taxpayers within the unit of government and increase taxes on them just to cover indebtedness. And it's not a very good written bill, although they're claiming that it's a 100% replacement. They have not identified 100% of revenue that would be used for the replacement. That bill passed out of the House. However, the Senate has said that they will not be taking it up because it's a non-budget year. And that's a matter that should be only considered when revenues and expenditures are up for discussion. So we hope that the Senate does not take it up, as does happen with a lot of bills when they pass one chamber 1 year, but don't even get heard in the other chamber. They come back the following year. And they probably have a little bit different support, maybe more support if they come back at all. So the legislature, then deadline for the second chamber to pass bills is February 28th, leaving the last 10 days or the first 10 days of March as the last days of session before they would adjourn on March 14th. So the month of February will be interesting because you got to be passed by Monday in order to go to the second chamber. So that's when the action really starts occurring, and a lot of trips and a lot of lobbying to Indianapolis will be occurring. So I'll have a better update on the most active bills at the February meeting. So thank you.
Maybe some of those $500 an hour Indiana attorneys will be fighting that 6% tax. Maybe they're for it, I don't know. Okay, thank you. Motion to accept this report.
Motion to accept.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
All right.
Now we'll move to the personnel reports. Is Kelly here?
Yes, okay, let me know if you can't hear me. I'll try to talk loudly. So we have a pretty long personnel report for January because this goes back to November, not having had a December report meeting. Susan Graves, first of all, new hire. Susan Graves has been hired as a connector in the Division of Social Services, effective November 29th. Susan comes to KIPDA from Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, the last group where she worked as a benefits verification specialist. Jeremy Shaw, which Jeremy is right here. That's Jeremy Shaw. He has been hired as a transportation planning analyst in the Division of Transportation Planning, effective January 10th. He earned a bachelor's degree in geology from Hanover College and a bachelor's and master's degree in civil engineering from the University of Louisville. He comes to KIPDA from the Indiana Department of Transportation, where he worked as a traffic investigation engineer. Is all that accurate? Okay. Ryan Lloyd, and I think I saw Ryan online earlier. I'm not sure if he still is, but he has been hired as a grants administrator and planner in the Division of Community Economic Development, effective January 18th. He earned a bachelor's degree in environmental science from Wheaton College and is currently completing a master's degree in sustainability from the University of Louisville. He comes to KIPDA from the Kentucky Conservation Committee, where he has been working as an intern. A couple promotions. Jennifer Wilson, who did our lovely Arpa presentation earlier, she's been promoted from the economic resiliency intern to our economic resiliency planner in the Division of Community Economic Development, effective January 4th. Congrats on the promotion. Elizabeth Boland Schiller, which I don't believe she is online. has been promoted from the Alternative Transportation Marketing and Outreach Coordinator to the Alternative Transportation Program Manager effective January 10th. And then while it's not in my report, Zach Herzog, who is here, has been promoted, and it'll be in my next month's report as well, has been promoted from the GIS specialist to the GIS Department Program Manager. He will be replacing Adam. For those of you who work with Adam, Zach will be replacing him. Retirements. Adam Forsyth retired December 31st as the GIS Department Manager. He retired with 27 years of service. David Burton retired December 31st as the Transportation Planner 3 with 30 years of service. Resignations. Stacy Burton resigned as the Alternative Transportation Program Manager in the Everett Community Counts program effective December 31st. Devin Weirs resigned as Michelle P. Waiver Case Manager effective December 23rd. Carla DeLong has resigned as Michelle P. Waiver Case Manager part-time effective January 28th. Although I think she's staying a little longer. Samaria Mason has resigned as a Michelle P. Waiver Case Manager part-time effective February 4th. We currently have, there may be some that have been added since then. We have the Budget Contracts Administration Coordinator position open. That's a full-time position. Transportation, we're looking for a planner 2 or 3. So if y'all know anybody, tell them to call me. Transportation planner 2 or 3 in the Division of Transportation. An ADRC specialist 2 in Division of Social Services. For the department, the GIS Department Manager fills that one with Zach. Economic Resiliency intern and Michelle P. Waiver Case Manager. We need 1 full-time and 2 part-time. We are interviewing some of these positions currently. These job descriptions can be found on our website, .org. Currently, our staff count is 85 full-time and 4 part-time. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Any questions from anyone? All right.
Actions requested.
Action
Motion
requested.
to approve.
We have first and second here. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, maintenance.
Okay, so we have just 2 contracts that we need approval on. One is for pest control and one is for lawn care, snow removal. We rebid some of these out, if you remember, from November. And these are the 2 that needed to be rebid out. So we received 2 bids for each and ended up with, I'm recommending for the pest care ACE, we've used them for probably, I know, for at least 10+ years. They only charge us $27 a month. They come out and we spray, and I mean, the other bid was $150 a month. So, and we've not had any issues. So I'm recommending ACE Pest Control for that. And then the other is for lawn care and snow removal in the parking lot. That there were 2 A+ lawn and a company called CHS. A+ lawn I'm recommending because of their bid was actually complete and actually less expensive. So they're like for mowing, they're charging $80 per mow, which includes trimming. The other company was wanting to charge $275, including edging, or not including edging, trimming. So and then they didn't really the other company, CHS, did not list any pricing for salting or de-icing, shoveling snow, or that kind of stuff. So I'm recommending A+ lawn for our lawn care and snow removal, and this is just for a year. And then ACE Pest Control for a year. Any questions about those?
Motion to approve these companies. Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, now we're at item number 19, intergovernmental reviews.
We're on the home stretch. Intergovernmental reviews. We have 6 intergovernmental reviews that are listed in your packet as A through F. These items have been submitted to the local entities for review. No comments have been received. Motion is requested. All 6 projects can be taken together.
All right, we see them there. Are there any questions about any? A motion to approve. So, all right. Second. Second. Any discussion on any of the projects? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Now we'll do the executive directors.
First, we've already, for the record reflect, as you mentioned earlier, Judge John Logan Brent, Matt Munay, Council Member Bernie Bowling, Mayor Rick Tamini, Deputy Judge John Park, and Judge Executive Dane Eisen have all joined the meeting since roll call was made. We do have one travel item. I think this is the first travel item in 2 years. It is the County Judge Executive and Kentucky Magistrate and Commissioners Association's joint conference next week. It would be for myself to attend. It is in Lexington at the Griffin Gate, one night, the hotel next Wednesday, and $295 conference registration fee for your consideration and approval.
Right, so pending that, is your motion to?
So moved.
For a second time, let Eric go to the KCJA meeting. All right. I think we've got a second there, John Black. Judge Summer. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. We have been working with DLG. They conduct the regular county budget workshops. This is the year that KIPDA was supposed to host. We learned yesterday that DLG is planning on conducting this meeting or training through Zoom. So they're going to be conducting that training on Monday, February 7th. The budget workshop will cover budgeting basics and statutory budget requirements. And you will learn 3 hours of county officials training. The workshop will also discuss the 65-35 budget year and will include the federal branch of DLG to discuss a lot of the Arpa dollars that have been received. It would be beneficial for the elected officials, judge executives, along with treasurer and clerks. Hayden from our office is distributing the links to register, and once we register, I think a couple days prior, we'll send out the Zoom link in order to attend, but that will be going out. If you haven't received it yet, either let myself or Hayden know.
It'll be February 3rd?
February 7th.
7th.
That Monday, between 9 and 12. And then finally, in the governor's proposed budget, he included $250 million in one-time funds for the Kentucky Site Identification and Development Program. Recognizing the company's decisions on where to expand or locate their operations, Kentucky's ability to provide location options which are bill ready is critical. Funding uses for the program include land acquisition, site assembly, site preparation and improvements, infrastructure, including water, wastewater, utilities, broadband, construction or improvement of buildings, environmental remediation, agricultural, engineering, surveying, and professional services. The Governor's Office, Economic Development Cabinet, and the Department of Local Government has engaged the Area Development District to assist with this initiative. We have been asked to update the site information of both active and inactive sites listed in the Economic Development Cabinet's Zoom prospector and identify high priority sites in the region with the expansion of key infrastructure could be considered bill ready and desirable for prospective companies. KIPDA staff, Ryan Lloyd, who was up there that Kelly mentioned earlier, along with Danielle Story and myself, have started communication with elected officials and economic development professionals in each of our counties. Ultimately, we are being asked to present to the governor and the Economic Development Cabinet on Thursday, March 3rd, to provide an update on the progress within Zoom prospector and highlight priority sites in the region. Judge Vogel has agreed to provide the introduction to KIPDA's presentation, and we are working with county economic development contacts to present on these priority sites. So we will likely, this is a pretty substantial request in a short time period. So if you hear from Danielle, Ryan, or myself in the coming weeks, please help us meet these requirements. That concludes my report.
All right, I'd like to thank all the staff, their members today, and everybody for showing up, putting the meeting together. I know everybody here wishes the goodwill and the best to our retirees who have left, and thank them for their service. And we welcome the new people and the promotions. Look forward to working with everybody here. So our next meeting will be on February 24th. Your motion to adjourn.
Judge, this is Mayor John Black. My screen's sort of blurred here today. I can't really see who's in the meeting. Is John Logan Brent there today?
Yeah, he's still here.
Okay. So he decided to come back and represent Henry County first of the year, huh? Okay. All right. Glad to
I
see
know
you.
when you get old, your eyes do get blurry, John.
Did I hear he's gonna retire from county judge?
Don't shoot a lame duck.
I'm looking for a house down in Westport. I thought all you Republicans were big on personal responsibility, but I'm seeing we're getting 10 houses moved down there in the floodplain, the last of which was built in 1998. I guess they weren't smart enough to figure out it flooded down there in Westport. John Black. We're gonna use government dollars on that, aren't we?
I don't know anything about Westport.
Now we're gonna raise some houses. We've been raising them and buying them and knocking some down. So.
I thought these were historic houses. Historic houses built 22 years ago. That's special.
Okay, I think we have a vote on that motion to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye. All right. Thank you.